Brian Smith inside the Knights, ready to talk a little bit of Louisville and UCF. Game prediction time, as tomorrow night is the game. A few thoughts about a couple of key elements of the game, and then on to the prediction. First off, I expect this to be a very physical game from the outset. Both teams will want to establish the running game. The team that can do this the best, like in most football games, will stand the best chance to win. At the line of scrimmage, Louisville has had much further problems than just about any team in the ACC. We don't know why. There's a lot of confusion on what that is, but they still hit a few big plays here or there, and they're inconsistent otherwise. For that reason, I'm curious to see how they come out against UCF. Do they attack the same way that they normally do? They run a lot of outside zone. That's their play. Or do they mix it up and try something a little bit different? As Scott Satterfield is very difficult to change his mind on things. He does what he does, but does he make an exception? UCF's defense is ranked number 1 in the country against the run, giving up like 22 yards a game. It's going to be hard for me to imagine that you're going to be a one-trick pony and you're not doing it very well, and then you're going to use that same system again in a third game against a team with as much talent in their front seven as UCF. That wouldn't make sense to me. If they do this, Louisville will lose the game. Flat out, there's no doubt in my mind. They have to adapt. But again, as I mentioned a moment ago, and it's not just Satterfield, coaches like the word change about like they like 4-letter words. I don't expect them to really change completely an offensive scheme, not that that's realistic, but I'm talking about more bootlegs, more waggles, something different early on that changes how they have played in the first 2 games. If they don't do that, UCF has the advantage. On the other side with the running game, UCF will probably challenge through the middle. That's what they do. And they've been successful. Unlike Louisville, they've been very successful at running the football. Bowser aside, we know about how good he is at running back. Isaiah has been a godsend because he can catch it, he can run it, and he can block. He's a complete running back. But they also have some other guys that are talented as well. I'm curious to see which other players come in to spell him, if at all, during the first half, because he is a workhorse, but how often does he get the ball? Maybe 15 carries in the first half if they get it going, 4.5 yards a carry or more. They'll keep feeding him. Gus Malzahn likes to do that and play tempo. Do they get outside? Do they run some read option? Do they do anything, some tosses, anything different than what they have done in earlier games? They did a couple of things like that with the toss, and I thought it was successful enough they might come back to it, and they did, but that was Bethune-Cookman. That's not the same as Louisville. The type of athlete we're talking about here is far different. Louisville is going to get after UCF and bring a lot of run pressures. They're going to do anything they can to create negative plays. They really don't have any choice. Again, if they just sit back, they're going to get smashed. Louisville doesn't have the personnel just to put 4 guys up front and play 1 or 2 more players in the box and stop UCF's running game. They're going to have to commit 7. That's a very key number. If they do not commit 7, they are not going to stop UCF's talented and experienced offensive line, and the tight ends do a nice job as well. On top of that, Dylan Gabriel knows which kind of plays to get his team in, and if it's a running play, he'll know right, left, center, where it goes. He's very intelligent. So watch that matchup. How many players does Louisville put in the box? If it's less than 7, look for the Knights to really try to pound the ball. From that, this is the fun part of the game. This is why fans like to go. The passing game, meaning play action. How often does Malik Cunningham or Dylan Gabriel throw the ball down the field off play action? I expect Dylan to throw it a little bit more early in the game in terms of shot plays. He's more accurate. But at the same time, if they're just running the ball, he might just check down and just pick them apart down the field. But at some point, he's going to try to get his good buddy Jay Flash the ball. Number 1 for the Knights, Jaylon Robinson is a very special player. They may double him, but at some point, he's going to get loose. On the other side, Ryan O'Keefe, same thing. Very quick, very fast. He had a big game last week. It was a career high for him. Now, does he get a little more attention? Taking some pressure off of Jaylon. That's a possibility. And let's not forget about Mr. Johnson on the other side. He has a couple of touchdowns already. He's a consistent player, and he's a good blocker on screens. He's a very valuable commodity to the UCF offense. The final part of the UCF offense, they've done a good job protecting Dylan. So when you do go into play action situations, it's not just a helter-skelter. He usually has a pretty clean pocket to throw from. And Dylan, again, very accurate on the deep ball. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, the only matchup that I've talked about for the last 2 or 3 days, and people are probably sick of hearing it, how do you stop Malik Cunningham from getting outside the tackle box? Make him be contained. This is the third and final point I want to talk about. Dylan will escape a little bit, but Louisville is going to come after him with pressures. He's not the same level of just freak athlete that Malik is. He's really athletic. They're going to blitz him occasionally, but I think that Coach Gibbs and Coach Williams from UCF, the co-coordinators, they would rather he stay in the pocket. That is my strong belief. The reason is when he's outside the pocket, he makes huge plays sometimes because he just has so much raw physical skill. Make a guy miss, then he decides right before he gets to the line of scrimmage, you know what? I'm going to throw it over the top. He has the arm strength, and even though he may be in an awkward throwing position, he can get away with it. Keep him in the pocket. Defensive ends, outside linebackers, safeties, whoever it is that comes up to the line of scrimmage, and they're going to mix and match all kinds of stuff, I'm sure, to try to keep Malik from really getting into a rhythm, must contain him. It drives me bananas. The guys go for kill shots all the time against really good athletes like Malik Cunningham, and they spin out of it or they get away because the guy just launches himself foolishly. UCF must break down every single time that they have a chance to hit him. Every time. To make sure not only they get a good shot on him and he feels it, that's very important too, but to bring him down. If you miss one tackle and he gets outside, it can be 7 points. He is electric. If they can contain him, that's going to be very valuable. UCF won't have as much problem with the perimeter. Dylan knows when he should roll. Dylan knows when he should stay in the pocket. He's maybe the most savvy quarterback in the country. Not worried about that at all. He just needs to be Dylan. Whether it's just checking down, he did a nice job of that against Bethune-Cookman, or taking a shot. He will do it. They're more consistent with their offense. So the last point, I guess, just to throw it in there, turnovers. Unless Louisville is in the positive on turnovers, I do not see how they win this football game. UCF has better skill talent. They're definitely better up front on the offensive line. And then, of course, we talked about the defensive line for about 3 weeks. Kalia, Ricky's coming back to his hometown of Louisville. Don't forget that. He's the big D lineman. And then you got Big Cat on one side, got Montevallo on the other side. They're going to really struggle to run the ball consistently, so they need some short fields. Gus talked about ball control and ball security and doing all the things they were really proud of him in the last game. That needs to happen again. So if they can keep the ball without just giving any freebies away, Louisville is going to be in trouble. My final score prediction is UCF 38, and I've got Louisville with 27. I think that by the middle of the third quarter, I expect UCF to pull into a double-digit lead, if not earlier. I think they're going to be able to run the ball better, and I think it's going to create more havoc for Louisville's secondary. They charge down hard, and the RPO game is going to be a factor. Whether it's just a short pass because somebody committed and came down too quick, and it's a swing pass to Brandon Johnson, whatever, and he just runs for 50 yards, there's going to be a freebie somewhere. Look for that. Louisville isn't always disciplined. So everybody be safe. I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun. UCF at Louisville. I've got the Knights 38 and the Cardinals 27.